Hello, Sustainable Parents. Flora McCormick here with Katharine Hamilton, and we're so honored to get to talk with you today. Katharine is a fertility lawyer here in Bozeman who can serve folks all over Montana, but obviously people that are here that might be from other states, you're welcome to ask questions too. And, really, this is a topic that is not always the first thing that we do a seminar about, that we project out. It's like a sensitive issue. Maybe people have guilt or shame if they have been on any side of assisted fertility. So I'm excited to have you here where we can talk openly in a safe space. There's no wrong questions. There's no judgment. If anyone has any knee-jerk reactions to this topic, I would ask you to just be open to this perspective that we just want to talk about a subject to be giving resources to people. Am I right on that?
Yes, thank you for that lovely introduction, Flora. Well, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Katharine Hamilton. As Flora said, I'm a fertility lawyer here in Bozeman. I own and operate Embaby Fertility Law. And before I get started, I just want to maybe explain Embaby and what that means. So Embaby is the combination of the words embryo and baby. And many people, after going through the journey of IVF, feel very strongly about their leftover embryos, and they refer to them as Embabies. They're very much future potential children. Embabies encompass a lot of what I do as a fertility lawyer. I represent surrogates and intended to talk about infertility and assisted reproduction.
Yes, thank you. I know it's like a topic that is kind of new, and especially the legal pieces of it. So yeah, where would you like to start with kind of sharing some thoughts for people who may be interested?
Of course. Well, just talking infertility in general, 1 in 8 couples struggles with infertility. Often that's the first major crisis that a married couple might face together. They get married, they get through the wedding, now it's time to have babies, and oh my goodness, we're struggling, we're not getting pregnant, we're seeing a reproductive endocrinologist. So chances are, if we personally haven't gone through infertility struggles, we know someone who has. So I think approaching, these kind of sensitive topics and heavier topics, just know that there are people out there who are talking about this and are very much affected by infertility, even in Bozeman, Montana, and elsewhere. So yeah, I want to be a resource to anyone who has questions about, we went through IVF, we have our children that we always dreamed of and wanted, and now we have leftover babies and we don't know what to do next. So I would love to be a resource to see if embryo donation is right for you. It's not right for everyone, but the few people who decide they want to give that gift and kind of, see another family. It's almost like a cousin relationship to have genetically related children, but it's very beautiful. It's really rewarding to watch. Like I said, it's like an adoption, but much cleaner. A lot of my clients have explored adoption only to pay hefty agency fees, have those agencies go bankrupt, and further this emotional roller coaster of infertility. And embryo donation is just kind of the answer and kind of the last resort, but it allows the receiving family the ability to carry a pregnancy and give birth to a baby to raise in their own family. And I think that's just incredible. The other thing I do with the surrogacy is either women who want to be a surrogate, which is another beautiful gift, or parents who are electing to maybe have another sibling and had some kind of medical issue the first time around. We call that secondary infertility. I work with a lot of parents who have 1 child or 2 children and something happened, like an unexpected hysterectomy or cancer diagnosis. And surrogacy allows them to have additional children within their family. I've heard surrogacy explained as kind of like a nanny. Like a nanny would take care of a baby after a birth. A surrogate would take care of that baby before birth. So it's the genetics of the intended parents, and the embryo is implanted into the gestational carrier, or the surrogate, where she carries that baby who's not genetically related to her. And then after the birth, it goes back to the rightful parents. So as a lawyer, I'm drafting the contracts to clear or clarify expectations. I'm also obtaining court orders establishing who the parents are and who the parents are not. So yeah, it's a fascinating area of law, but I love helping people help their help grow their families. It's really rewarding to get a baby picture in my email inbox 9 months later. It's really neat.
Totally. Gosh, I'm so curious, like, who are the people who generally reach out to you to consider if they would be a surrogate? Like, I always picture like you would have to be in your 20s to do that. Are there like limitations around who can?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the primary things we look for is that the gestational carrier, also known as a surrogate, you can use them interchangeably, has had at least one live birth. There's a couple of reasons for that. We want to make sure that her body is equipped and can medically handle the stress that a pregnancy puts on a woman's body. Another reason too is there's this misconception out there about surrogacy that a surrogate might want to keep the child. Well, if she's already completed her own family and she doesn't want more children, she's not going to want a baby that's also unrelated to her. The women who reach out to me about becoming a surrogate are between the ages of 21 and 41. That's kind of about that age where doctors say, you know, that's kind of where we feel like a healthy, viable pregnancy would be safe. So yeah, I have women reach out to me who either know someone who is experiencing infertility issues, like their sisters walk that journey, and they just really want to give a gift of a family to someone else. So they're just really incredible women who want to give themselves and give a gift to a family. Oh, sorry, Flora. Listen, I can't hear you. It's okay.
That's so neat. Yeah. And then on the flip side, you know, I guess, yeah, thinking to myself, if I were in that position of needing assisted fertility, I wouldn't know if you start with the doctor, you start with a lawyer, or is it kind of both at the same time?
It's kind of all at the same time. I think obviously a doctor is a great place to start. Usually the doctor's been on that journey, especially reproductive endocrinologist. Anyone who's dealt with infertility knows who exactly that is. But that's the first place to start, saying, is this a good option for me? A lawyer is also a really good place to start. We see all sorts of different things happen, and we can at least prepare a new client or a potential client with kind of an overview so that he or she can feel a little bit more armed when approaching an agency or a gestational carrier, what things that they can be looking for, what kind of questions to ask and that sort of thing, because it is a lot and there's not a ton of resources just geared at, you know, getting one source of answers. I think you kind of have to look at all of it, but an attorney and a doctor are always a great place to start.
Got it. Okay. Wow. So I guess like for this audience of people, anyone in sustainable parenting would be folks who have had kids, but we don't know if people may be needing assistance with second children. Like you said, that secondary infertility, which thank you for teaching me that term. I did not know what that meant, but that makes sense. And so people in that position are people who are biologically are not able to have kids, like any way that you want to suggest that they could connect with you?
Yeah, feel free to look at my website and shoot me an email. It's embabylaw.com. I offer a free consultation for anyone who is seriously interested in surrogacy or embryo donation, especially if they're located or have some kind of tie to Montana, such as they live in Montana or their embryos are stored in Montana. I'm happy to guide through that process. I also have a network of attorneys who practice infertility law. So if you live in another state, feel free to shoot me an email and I'm happy to connect you with one of my colleagues who might be able to chat with you a little bit more about your jurisdiction or your state's laws and what you need to know before embarking on a fertility law journey.
Awesome. Well, yay. Goodness. Again, this is like such a new area. There's so much always changing and progressing in this field. I had one of my very best friends just had a baby through IVF, and so there's just so many new things that many folks may not be aware of. Is there anything that you would like, to kind of share with us, since this is your world?
Yeah.
It?
I would say if you're just getting started, like we talked about, start with your doctor, talk to your lawyer. There's also a lot of Facebook online communities, and I'd say just type in the word surrogate or surrogacy, and that will kind of get you into the right place, and start looking through the forum and seeing what questions have been asked. I know right now there's kind of an industry shortage of gestational carriers, women wanting to be surrogates. I don't know if that's a COVID related thing. Everyone's kind of just staying a little bit more indoors, a little bit more safe. But there are a lot of intended parents out there who are just ready to rock and roll and have a baby. So if you've ever had that calling to be a gestational carrier, you're waiting for a sign, let this be your sign to at least start asking questions and seeing if it's right for you. Another thing I guess I didn't pick or touch on too is usually gestational carrier is compensated for her serving as a gestational carrier, and that can look different between different families, or if you're working with an agency. And we're not baby buying, it's more of compensating a woman for her pain and suffering. For those who have been pregnant or know anyone who's been pregnant, there's a lot of morning sickness. Obviously, the labor and delivery is very intensive. So it is something that is compensated. And the surrogates I work with are anyone from healthcare workers to office professionals to stay-at-home moms who want a little extra income on the side. It's just, yeah, it's great. I love it.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I mean, I would not have known that there's a shortage, and I never would have thought that like the ideal candidate is someone who has carried at least one child. I don't know. I always thought perhaps that an ideal person would be like, oh, I should have done that back in my 20s or something. So those two things are really, really interesting. I think it's really neat to consider. Maybe someone on the other side of this recording had a place in their heart that they would love to do that, and they could reach out to you and be able to help another family to make their family goals happen.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Flora. This has been incredible. I love sustainable parenting. I've been one of your first followers and invited all my friends. So thank you for everything that you do. I love stealing all your techniques and tips. Having a 1 and 3-year-old myself, I don't know what I would do without you. So thank you for being a resource for this community.
Oh, thank you. Well, great. Well, I'll make sure that we post your phone number and website in the comments so that people can follow up if they have any questions for you. And want to reach out to you. So thanks again. We'll see you.
Thank you, Flora.